This module is about visual rhythm. It is for the student of media to understand that appreciating a feature film is not merely enjoying the narrative, but at the same time savoring the technical and aesthetic skills which were put into its creation. As we know, film is a visual medium. It's all about images and sound. It is how the director and all the film artists orchestrate their talent to create a perfect blend of images and sound to bring about the best of the story that they want to tell. Remember that films are not narrated, they must be visualized, and the narrative must be found in the way the images themselves form a language of storytelling. And this is what we are going to specifically focus on. You see, the camera narrates utilizing the following fundamental elements: tone, texture, hue, color, framing, and movement. I repeat, it's all about tone, texture, hue, color, framing, and movement that the camera is able to create the rudiments and the elements of a story. Now, the question is, what is the basic difference between tone and hue? Okay, let's try to distinguish this in the simplest manner possible. Hue is the purest form of color. The moment you mix another color with the hue, it becomes a color of tone. I will repeat. Hue is the purest form of color. For instance, I have blue, but the moment I mix even the slightest amount of white or black into the color blue, it is going to turn into sky blue, or maybe a touch of green in it would turn it into turquoise, and I add a certain dash of darkness into it, and it becomes navy blue, or it becomes another shade of blue which is darker than that of turquoise and sky blue. I think that's pretty clear. Hue is the purest form of color, and the moment you mix it with another color, it is called in the area of tone. Now, take a look at these two samples of scenes from the movies La La Land and Marriage Story. On the left, you see that the color blue, okay, has been added to the natural coloration of the scenes, thereby creating a tone. But if you look at the right, we have the purest colors of white, browns, and blues untouched by any other color except the natural lighting, and you have the element of hue. Now, tone and hue are very different, okay, from texture. Texture is the physical approximation which is created by visuals. What do I mean? Texture is associated with touch. Texture is associated with the way a color brings about a certain feel, as a certain grain, a certain smoothness, which is not felt physically but visualized. In the context of an artwork, okay, there are two kinds of textures. There's visual and there's actual. Actual is the texture of corduroy, okay, on your pants. Uh, it's the texture of sand as you run your fingertips over it. It's the texture of your hands running down skin. But visual is the approximation of this texture brought about by color and brought about by images. I think this could be best illustrated, okay, by a film called Fury Road, which was shown recently, or part of the Mad Max series. Okay, now if you want to understand this further, I have a link right under, okay, this frame, which you can just press Control and then click on it, and you would see exactly what I mean by the creation of texture using images. Then, of course, there are two examples of works too done by Sofia Coppola. On the left is from the film Lost in Translation, and on the right is from her most recent film, The Beguiled. Uh, Click on these links, and you will see the difference between the way she treated a story shot completely in Japan about alienation and a modern interpretation of an old film meant to capture the post-revolution in America, and in a house full of women. One is of the Victorian age and the other is very modern Tokyo. So you could see that the use of tone and hue and texture changes the entire feel of these two movies. All right, and what is color? Now, color is not merely just the choice of color. Color serves a general purpose. In other words, when you choose color in a film, it means there has to be a specific reason behind the visualization of this color for a specific scene. For instance, click this link. This is from an old film called Dick Tracy. Now, there was a purpose behind the use of pure primary colors and secondary colors in this movie. Why? Because the director wanted to duplicate the cells of a comic strip in order to bring about life to comic strip. In other words, it's like a dramatization of a series of comic strip cells, which is all about Dick Tracy. Color is also used to emphasize or isolate specific visual statements. I guess you all remember this important scene in Schindler's List, of which the whole film is in black and white except for this child wearing a red coat. Or if you see the frame on the upper side of the of this plate, the use of the color red and the use of the color yellow on the actress's garment really was meant to pop up and to give a statement about this scene. Now, for further reference, check these clips from the movies Gattaca and Memoirs of a Geisha. Okay, this would make you understand further what is meant by the use of color, tone, and texture.